One of those topics that has really captured my mind of late has been this topic of agreeableness. I mean, when the first time I heard about agreeableness, I must say I was really fascinated, because I saw myself a lot in that. And I just want to start off by just describing what agreeableness is first, and then take it from there. Now, in psychology, agreeableness is defined as the people who have high potential to put the needs of others above that of their own. And overall, agreeableness describes a person's ability to put other people's needs above their own. For instance, people who are high in agreeableness naturally experience empathy and tend to get tremendous pleasure from serving others and taking care of them. So as you can see, it normally comes from a very good place. It comes from a place of wanting to be of good service, especially to those that you are in a relationship who are meaningful to you, and of course those who are around you. So as a result, then your index, something that I call the index of empathy, is high, and it is combined with that ability then to adjust yourself mentally and emotionally, and to physically make space for others in and around your own space. So then that makes then the people like that, if you are the kind of person, it means that you are then more prone to agree with others, considering their feelings, often at the expense of your own position or even your own feelings, in situations where it even contradicts your own position. So you find yourself, for example, agreeing to, let's say you're not somebody who drinks a lot, who doesn't like alcohol that much. You can find yourself agreeing to go with your friend or with your friends to a bar, to go hang around there because you don't want to offend them. Or you can even agree to certain expenses that you are not planning to spend on, even if it puts your financial pocket in a negative light, or even if it's it's going to present trouble for you later on in the future. So agreeable people then tend to say yes when they're not in agreement with a lot of stuff, and this then tends to create incongruence, which means that there is that mental misalignment of thought between your own mind and your emotions. And when this happens, then you find yourself then in that consistent state of cognitive dissonance. It's another psychological term which just simply describes the state of being, or a state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. And the longer and more regularly we stay in that state, we create self-doubt and we disempower our ability to trust your own decisions. And so you find that in situations where you are having to make an important decisions because you're so used to making decisions in contrast to what others think, then you find that you're not confident in making your own decisions. Then you will over-consult. You'll consult too many people, and then end up in a situation where you've got so much information, struggling to figure out who is it that I'm going to agree with, who am I going to offend if I go this way, who's not going to be offended. And then it's like you're operating at this high level of emotional and mental tension. And in the end, you don't even know what you want as a person. And I find that if I'm in a situation where I'm dealing with agreeable people, they struggle to make a decision. They always want you to make a decision for them. They'll ask you what you think. So what must I do? Then where must I start? And what steps must I take? And how long must it be? What is the formula? So they're always looking for something that can prescribe what they do. So in that way, they don't have to make their own decisions than to offend another person. So the advice in this case is that we need to learn to interrogate moments when we feel that anxiety, especially when engaging with people. As soon as we start feeling maybe the tingle in the tongue, the tension in our hands, sweating, the heart that's beating fast, and we start wondering and worrying about Are they going to be okay if I make these decisions? And then you want to then almost want to make sure that they are okay. People are okay with the decisions that you're going to make, even though the decision only impacts you as a person. You start worrying about how it's going to impact other people. So secondly, focus on what has built your logic, what has built your principle, your beliefs, your values, rather than fearing conflict, rather than fearing rejection, rather than fearing abandonment or loss of a relationship or some kind of adjustment in the relationship. Have a support network of like-minded individuals who exhibit the same values as you and principles as you and beliefs that are aligned to yours. If you are consistently finding yourself in contradiction and in conflict and in combativeness with the people that you're with, it may be so that you are not aligned in terms of your beliefs, in terms of your values, in terms of the system, in terms of your principles. And if you're not, then it's incumbent upon you to figure out why is that the case. Is it because I have a misconception, I've got certain presuppositions that are a bit off, and as a result, I need to maybe investigate those and see whether or not they're still valid? Or if it so happens that you're quite okay, let's say for example, you're somebody who has a certain belief, like as a Christian, I have a certain belief about certain things, about certain personalities around me, a certain way of carrying and conducting myself, certain types of behaviors that either help or impede my ability to enjoy myself and to contribute meaningfully. Then I've got to make decisions as to whether or not I'm going to have certain meaningful relationships with some people, and in what capacity can I continue to relate with those people, and if there is any change of any kind that needs to take place in order for me to be myself, to be a Christian, to be somebody who tends to have, a degree of respect for certain and a moral way of living. Then I'm going to decide then what kind of relationship I'm going to have, or with those kind of people. Fourthly, check yourself with those people at times. The people that your support network. Discuss areas of confidence where you're lacking, where you still need to grow, until such time that you've built your own confidence. And sometimes whenever you find that you're an agreeable person who has agreed to quite a lot of things that have cost you a lot of your peace, that have cost you a lot of your emotional well-being, that have cost you quite a lot over time, there probably will have to be some kind of a therapy process that you're going to have to go through to relearn and to learn how to speak for yourself, learn how to hear your own voice, learn how to stand in your own voice, learn how to believe your voice. And in that time, you're probably going to have to rely a lot on a strong support structure that sort of aligns with you. If it's a coach, that's what you're going to do. If it's a mentor, if it's a pastor, if it's a counselor, if it is a good friend that is of sound mind and that is for you. All right? Because if you don't do this, what ends up happening is you start to lose a lot of emotional territory. And in losing a lot of emotional territory in relationships, you find that you don't really have a lot of room emotionally to move. There isn't much space for who you are as a person, for your voice, for your opinions, for your desires, for your vision, where you want to go in life. You find that you don't really have a lot of power at the table of negotiation in a relationship. Especially when you are with somebody that is emotionally aggressive. Eventually you find yourself in this emotional prison where you're not free to express yourself, and even if you see certain behavior, certain things, certain decisions that you're taking are dysfunctional or maybe you're uncomfortable. Let's say that you're married and you realize that this person that you're with is not very good with finances, but because they're emotionally aggressive, they tend to then impose the emotional aggression on the financial decisions that have got to be made. And at the end of the day, you find yourself way overcommitted in terms of your debt, or maybe you're uncomfortable in certain environments and then you find yourself being pushed to accompany them in certain environments. And whenever you raise your voice to say, I'm uncomfortable in the situation, and it's always like, well, you know what, you are not fun, you're boring, or you think you're better than everybody else. Why do you have to be so difficult? And because of you're an agreeable person, you start then reflecting on yourself based on those accusations that have been leveled against you. You start judging yourself based on on those accusations that have been leveled against you. And then you keep on then adjusting yourself to sort of not be a difficult person, not to be an uncomfortable person, not to be this person that has certain standard of thinking. And then you start to lose quite a lot of emotional territory, right? And then, because what happens is that these people that tend to be quite emotionally aggressive, then they set up these emotional landlines that have been placed where you are together. So, and this can be throughout the length of your relationship, and then you end up having to navigate this heavily triggered emotional territory. And then you, as the agreeable person, you are the target, because you are not setting those landmines. The person that is emotionally aggressive that you are in a relationship, whether it be your friend, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be your mother, whether it be your father, whether it be your siblings, whether it be even your colleagues or your boss or people that you're working with, they set these emotional landmines that you now have to worry about. And then you become an easy target for emotional bullying when you're an agreeable person. So how do you deal with that? One, you need to learn to communicate your discomforts, your emotional grief, and your trauma without fear of judgment by those that you are in a relationship with. And it doesn't matter whether they be your friends or siblings or parents or colleagues or whoever that may be meaningful in your life. So, in closing, I want to talk about this quickly. It's agreeable people. We don't like conflict, and we would avoid confrontation at all costs. And this is primarily premised on the fear of judgment. Like, I fear being judged. And as a result, because you fear judging, then you get into this mindset of pleasing, where you want to please everybody. And then you find that it's difficult. It is impossible to please everyone, especially in situations where you are now having to choose. Let's take, for example, a child that is put in the middle of a very crazy divorce fight between their parents. Now the parents are trying to make them to choose who they're going to go with. And if you are an agreeable child, and you find that you cannot choose, or maybe let's say that you are finding yourself in the middle of a fight of your friends, and if you are the agreeable one, the emotionally aggressive friends are going to want you to make a choice between the two of them, and you find that then you don't know what to do because you fear of offending. You have this exaggerated level of fearing of offending other people. And as an agreeable person, then you worry about, you fear being abandoned, being rejected, being shamed, and you struggle with saying no, regardless of how sound your no is. And subsequently, then you can allow being mistreated in a relationship to continue for a very long time before you then get to a point where you learn to fight for yourself, where you learn to stand up. So how can you deal with that? Build confidence on who we are as a person. Remind yourself and remember that you are a good person, you're a reasonable person, you're kind, you're caring, you're loving, you're not out to intentionally hurt anybody, but at the very same time, it's okay to every now and then be introspective just to make sure that you're not in any way buying into your own, as they say, BS, or buying into your own madness, or buying into your own foolishness. So learn to articulate your thoughts and speak kindness. Speak your kindness, speak your care, speak your love, and be firm in it. Be firm in it and be truthful to it. Be truthful to it. And because that's what makes you, that is your contribution to the people around you, to those who are in a relationship. That's your contribution to mankind. So understand that if anyone really loves you and cares for you, they will give you an ear to your appeal. They will give an ear to your appeal. And they will also fight to make space for you in their lives. And they won't just constantly insist that the only way that you can remain in this space is for you to do what they tell you to do. It is for you to think the way they want you to think. And if they consistently not allow you to have and to be yourself in their space, then you may have to review your place in their lives. You may have to review the relationships. You may have to renegotiate the relationships. Because central to every relationship are 5 important questions. Do I matter? Number 1. To whom do I matter? Number 2. For what do I matter? Number 3. Is that how I want to matter? If it is not how I want to matter, then the 5th question comes, should I then change it? And in changing, then that's when they start the process of therapy, of transformation, of relearning, of having to grow again begins, and it becomes a a very difficult situation, and you find yourself in that situation, then you may need a professional. You may need somebody that knows what they're talking about and that knows how to help you to navigate that difficult territory, and that can be sensitive to your emotional state in that space of insecurity, of doubtfulness, because you're soft, your heart is soft, you've been hurt, you've just realized that this person that you've loved, that you've cared for so long, you thought you were somebody with them, and you thought you were, and then you realize, no, I'm not. Maybe I'm just a tool. I'm just a means to an end. I'm a means to their financial end. I'm a tool for their security. I am a trophy. Maybe you're a beautiful woman. I'm a trophy, and then they can parade me in front of their friends, but at the end of the day, behind the doors, I'm nothing but just a trophy. And that process of realization, when you come to that, then begins the process of grieving, because you're realizing you've lost something that you've had. And you literally go through grieving as if you've lost, as if you're going through a divorce, or as if you've even lost somebody that you loved, that was very close to you. Anyway, that's why I just wanted to talk about that. How do you handle yourself as somebody that is agreeable? And how can you be your own ally to your own success, to live in the life that you want to live? How can you posture your mind in such a way that you remain highly functional? Yes, you can experience emotions, and you can love, you can care, you can cry, you can be hurt and all of that. But that doesn't necessarily have to be at the expense of your entire peace, at the expense of your entire joy, of your entire happiness, of your entire comfort. Because these are the vital components of life that you miss out on when you are an agreeable person. And most likely you're going to find yourself in situations or in relationships where you are with people that have emotional aggression, because then you are an easy target for them to connect with you. I could talk about narcissism and all of that, but this is not the topic about it. I just wanted to simplify it and put it to one thing about what does it mean that you are an agreeable person, and how can you handle your personality. There's nothing wrong with it that you care, that you want to align yourself correctly with other people. But it's important also to know to not be naive in any way, and to understand that some people will pounce, they will go in for a kill because they see someone like you as a target and as somebody that can easily take advantage on. And sometimes they don't do it intentionally, sometimes it is from their own trauma, sometimes it is from their own dysfunctional environment that they grew up in. But at the end of the day, it does not make a difference how you get hurt. The fact of the matter is that you still get hurt. And whether you get hurt accidentally, whether you get hurt intentionally, it makes absolutely no difference, because the wound is exactly the same. The emotional wound is exactly the same. With that being said, my name is Jabu Zwane. I'm a mindset development specialist, and you can follow me on all the social media platforms and reach out for me. Even look out for my website, jabuzwane.co.za. I'm also CEO of the Mindset Development Institute, where I build critical thinking frameworks for leadership, for relationships, for high performance, for entrepreneurship, for growth mindset, for also effective communication. So do check me out and follow me online. Thank you so much. You have a great day.